All right, folks, here we are at our second week of 1102. Let's recap what you had to do for last week. Remember, at the beginning of the week, I had the assignment on Eudora Welty. My mother never worked. I'm sorry, that's actually something else. I got 1101 still on the brain. No, the Eudora Welty story is why I live at the PO. Okay. That story, the assignment was open as of the beginning of last week and ends today as of the airing, or my recording of this, at least, Sunday the 10th. Okay. And then you also had at the midpoint of last week the Edgar Allan Poe Telltale Heart discussion forum open. I contributed a post, I think, first thing Wednesday or the first half of Wednesday. At any point, or in any case, during that time, I did not see any other posts. I presume that there are more as a few days have passed. So remember, you have till this Wednesday to complete that. Okay, and that will have completed the week one work, if you will. The Poe story, the Welty story, the discussion questions in the Welty story, the discussion forum for the Poe story. So for this week, we have another two stories to read. This one by Tobias Wolff, Bullet in the Brain. And then we have Catherine Ann Porter, The Jilting of Granny Weatherall. Two very different stories. We are talking about setting and tone and character as we read these stories. The style of Jilting of Granny Weatherall is it's kind of this like fever dream sort of. We're kind of wafting in and out of scenes of memory. It's kind of a complicated story, so you really do need to pay attention and be focused reading that story. Tobias Wolff, that story, Bullet in the Brain, is much more of a gut punch. The title is very suggestive of what occurs in the story, okay? But it's also a very smart, sharp, kind of wicked humor, and I don't mean that in the Baston sense, wicked humor, okay? It has this kind of sardonic, dark sense of humor going on about it. Two very different stories, but two very great stories, challenging in their own right, but I would say pretty fun to read. And you have discussion questions this week for those. They are attached, or no, they're not attached, I'm sorry. I just got off of doing 1101's announcement, so some of the 1101 lingo and jargon is still in my brain, forgive me. So I don't have discussion questions posted because now in our textbook, you actually have the questions inside, okay? So I do point out a number of questions that I'd like you to do in this week's announcement. Some for the Porter story, and then some for the Wolff story, okay? So that's really all we have for this week, are those questions that I have in the announcement for those two stories. Speaking of Wolff, though, another writer with the surname Wolff is Virginia Woolf. And our first writing essay assignment, brief essay, our first literary analysis essay is going to be next week, okay? I'm going to introduce the topic next week and tell you a bit more about it, but it's on A Haunted House by Virginia Woolf, okay, in our textbook Backpack Literature. So if you've read the two stories for the week and done the questions and submitted the assignment and you're looking for something to do, read A Haunted House. A lot in this Virginia Woolf story is withheld from you. It's a complicated story. It's a very short story, but it's crystallized. It'll take a few readings to really penetrate, to understand what's going on, who's speaking to whom, about whom is one speaking, all right? We have a really interesting setup in this story with the different characters there. It's an interesting device Virginia Woolf uses to talk about a larger idea, okay? A philosophical and emotional idea that I will not spoil for you because it is what the story is about, okay? It's a certain word and I won't use it because you'll figure it out after you read the story. Tease it apart, okay? Annotate, underline what stands out to you, what compels you, what grips you, what frustrates you, what confuses you, okay? If you need any comprehension help on Virginia Woolf's A Haunted House, I'm here. Of course, there's Miss Evans too. Ask us, okay? There's the wide world of the internet, no doubt. There are myriad analyses on the story, or summaries at least. So I don't want you to kind of appropriate those too much when it comes time to writing your essay in a couple weeks, because I want your thoughts, your words about it. But maybe it's good to kind of orient yourself, getting a little plot breakdown or a brief little analysis from, say, SparkNotes or something along those lines. Okay, so 2 stories to read for the week. I will work on grading last week's work as well. About 11:01, as we close our 11:01, or we have closed it for about a week now. But something tells me that that shell is going to remain open probably through until next Monday, the 18th, okay? So what I'm going to do this week is, in addition to our 11:02 schedule, grading the work for the Welty and Poe stories, I'm also going to certainly, by this week, grade your research versions of your argumentative persuasive essay. So that at the very least is going to be completed to keep within the 2-week window there. But I had said originally that I didn't think that you guys would get an opportunity to go inside the course shell to actually look at your grade, look at the rubric score, and maybe kind of understand why you got what you got. And I had advised you, hey, if you can't go in the shell, if it closes before the 2-week window is up, just come to me and ask me, and I'll email you maybe a little brief breakdown of why you got the grade that you got, and maybe some more explanation as to your grade. But if the if the course remains open through this week, that means it'll probably stay open through till next weekend, okay? So if I get those papers done and recorded in Blackboard, you guys probably will in fact have the opportunity to check out how you did without needing to email me or wait for me to turn it around, okay? That is if the shell remains open. I have a suspicion that it will. We'll see as of tomorrow if that holds true or not. So expect all that back. We have our stories for the week. Get geared up for the Virginia Woolf essay. Details to come on the particulars there. But it's a good idea to get a foothold in the story and start reading and analyzing it for yourself now. Blogs are re-enabled this week in 11:02. And remember, that's all we're working in, is in 11:02. We've left 11:01 behind. You have no further work to do in there. I just have some grading and posting to do in there. But we are now squarely in 11:02. So whenever I talk about anything, blogs, posts, forums, discussion questions, it's all in the context of 11:02. So the blog opened this week. Same deal as we've been having even back through 11:01, is basically your kind of candid, frank, stripped down reactions to the stories. I think I actually have a question to help guide the blog discussion should you choose to participate. Completely voluntary, counts as bonus for your final paper at the end. But I believe I do have a question to kind of initiate our conversation, should we have a conversation in the blog area. So do look that up maybe before you post any initial reactions to the Welty, Poe, Woolf, or Catherine Ann Porter stories. In any case, I think that is it. Pretty short announcement video for the week. Any questions, guidance, help, please reach out to me or Miss Evans, and we will all be in touch. All right, folks. Enjoy your second week of 11:02. Bye.